Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of the Katknits podcast. As you can see, we're out of Vancouver right now. We're lucky to escape this weekend and we're currently just north of Vancouver. And it's a nice day, so I thought I might as well film outside. This podcast, I kind of just chat about what I've done in the last month with regards to knitting and yarn. So as I mentioned last time, I was hiking the PCT this summer, so I'm now officially back home from the trip. When I got off trail, I was just north of Yosemite National Park at the northern edge near Sonora Pass. And then when I got back to trail, we ended up hiking. Oh, my dog has detected something happening. We got back on trail at Sonora, which is just the northern end of Yosemite National Park, and then we ended up hiking north into South Lake Tahoe and then into Truckee, but the Yosemite fire had gotten so bad that it blew the smoke up, and to the point where the air quality warning said that you shouldn't be outside even with the smoke. So then we made the difficult decision to actually skip up, go north, and this also was affected by the fact that I go back to school in September, so I wasn't going to be able to hike all of it anyways, and I kind of want it to end at the border. But one thing I learned with hiking is plans are constantly in flux. So we were hiking in Oregon, and then my parents came to visit, and that week that they visited, basically all of Oregon unfortunately had like thunderstorms, and those caused so many little fires to spark up. So then in that week we ended up actually skipping up further north to northern Oregon, and I did the last little section, which is up until you kind of do Mount Hood, where Timberline Lodges, which is a really fun, unique lodge if you have a chance to check it out. It was built, I think, in the late 1800s, and they've kept all the original furniture, which was like hand woodwork. There's tons of art through metalwork and woodwork, and they've got these beautiful little rooms. Each room has its own fireplace. I believe there's 200 rooms, and each room has its own fireplace because that's how they used to heat back in the day. And then I ended up just at the Cascadia River, I believe it's called. But that's the river that separates Oregon and Washington. And at that point, I was kind of ready to come home. It was a beautiful trip. Really awesome. I'm so happy I got to do that, and I definitely will be kind of going back. I'd like to finish the rest of it kind of over the rest of my life. Maybe do a week or two here or there. Washington is supposed to be one of the most beautiful sections, and I'm very lucky that it's just south of me. I always knew that if I left Washington, it wouldn't be that hard for me to kind of go down and pick it up, especially because I haven't done any hiking in Washington. So that's my update on the PCT. And I think since getting back, so while I was on the PCT, I got to do a little yarn shopping. I had made notes before about the yarn stores that I wanted to go to. So I ended up stopping in Truckee, as I mentioned, and then Portland and Seattle. So in each spot, I ended up stopping and picking up some wool. And that is what is filled up this bag. I think after buying all that wool, though, I kind of got home, and this was already my goal that I set in the beginning of this year, and I created a YouTube video about planning out my projects, and I wanted to do 9 projects from my stash this year. I'm going to do a video updating on how that's gone, and if you've been following along, you'll know how many of those I've actually done. I still got 4 months left in the year, though, to really get more projects done. But now, after picking up all this wool, I've decided that I'm going to go cold turkey. I am not going to buy anything for the next 12 months. So from September 1st to August 31st, 2023, and really I won't even be able to finish my stash within a year, but really kind of do all those projects that make me excited, because when I'm buying yarn, I get so excited to do those projects, but then I buy too much that I can't get all those projects done. And then I become less excited about those projects that I wanted to do, and there's like all these new ones that I want to do. So I need to really have a smaller stash. And this works out well because I'm finishing up my degree. I really need to actually be saving money. I don't need to be spending anymore. So I'll go through the yarn acquisitions at the end. But since I've been back, I've been knitting. I've been really focusing on kind of wrapping up my 3 works in progresses. So the first one of those is the Cozy Classic, the Classic Cozy? Oh no, now I've got it mixed up. I wrote down notes because I know that I struggle with names. So it's the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie Maed. And this is something that I started before my trip. And I've now actually got the body completely done. And I love the way this fits. I'm so happy. It doesn't have any kind of puckering. And for modifications, I ended up adding an extra 4 inches to the body just because I don't really wear much cropped clothing. I kind of wear mid-rise pants, so I want it to be, I like for my sweaters to not only like actually kind of hit that mid-rise top of my pants, but then also go like an inch or so over just so that I can like raise my arms and not have the sweater going up. And I also substituted out the yarn, so rather than holding 2 yarns together, I just found a yarn that was the correct weight for both of those yarns held together, and had the mohair, it says mohair nylon and BFL. Can't say enough good things about the pattern. Another modification that I did is I watched this video by Suzanne Bryan, and I'll link to it below. It's on YouTube, and she talks about how to avoid holes in the underarm. And what you do is you end up picking up extra stitches in the armhole. So I ended up picking up 3 extra stitches, and then on that first round you knit them together to get rid of it. And I've just started this armhole, so I'll show a closer shot. But it's really amazing how well that works. So I ended up picking, like I said, 3 extra, and then the first round so when I started it, I did like knit 1 and then knit 2 together to get rid of that extra stitch on the one side, and then I went around till I had 5 stitches left, and then I did SSK, which knit 2 together, then I did another SSK, and then I knit 1. So I still have those kind of, classic, the 2 knit ones around the stitch, but then knitting together on either side of that to reduce the stitches. And yeah, honestly, I can't say enough good things about this pattern. I also love the color. I bought this yarn in Vancouver. It was from Paris, but it was on cones, and unfortunately there is no information about what yarn it is, the brand or anything like that. I got it from Wet Coast Wools in Vancouver, and they had a bunch of cones that you could pick up. And as you can see, I have finished 1 cone. So that's how much yarn I used, it's always so satisfying. This is, I think, part of the reason why I'm so addicted to knitting, is it's watching your progress. So I finished my first cone, and now I'll definitely have enough yarn to do the sleeves. So this is going well, and as you can see, I have it in my Hohi & Co bag, which I'm also loving. I've also, my other work in progress that I'm making progress on is these socks for myself. So I actually ended up finishing the 1 sock, and I have started the 2nd sock. And this is just a pattern that I'm doing. So I'm using 2.75 millimeter needles, and I believe I cast it on, I think it was 64 stitches. I'll write in the comments below if it's different than that. And then I just did, I think, around like 6 or 7 inches. I did like 15 rows for the cuff. Then I did about, I think it was 6.5 to 7 inches for the top of the sock. And then I did the heel, and then I just knit till it fit my foot, or the right length of my foot. And then I just did the classic knit 2 together, SSK, while every other row to decrease to get to the toe. I made the toe a little bit wider than I wish I did. I think I did 12 stitches for the toe. So if I were to do this again, I would use a smaller needle. So this is 2.75, which I think is just a little too big. It's like a little too drapey for me. So I'd go down needle size, and then I would probably also shrink the toe. And I would even look at, I know there's some toes where you don't just decrease equally. You kind of start with, knit one row, and then you do the decrease on the next row, knit one. But then at the end, you decrease every round, and that kind of gives you more of that rounded toe. So I think I want to experiment with that. I will be making the socks the same, though, because it would bug me if I didn't have the same sock. This is the Earth sock yarn, and let me remember what the actual name is here. It's the Uneek Fingering. And so far, it's a merino nylon. I am not as in love with the colors as I was kind of hoping to be when I saw the yarn on the shelf. How you're supposed to do this, I think, is you cast on, like this is where I started, so this should be the toe, and then you knit up, do the heel, and then you just keep knitting until you're back to the same color repeat, so that you have two matching socks. So that's kind of cool that they kind of, each half of the ball is the same, so you can have matching socks. As you can see, I did not do that, so I've got two completely different socks, and these are the four color combinations. So I kind of call this like Harry Potter, then we've got a little Barney, then we got a little Halloween, and now I'm going into watermelon. And the yarn is soft and stuff, but I also, sometimes it just takes me a while to be excited about a project when I'm knitting it. For some reason, sometimes I can just fall out of sync, but it's been a fun project, and I've been knitting them on 9-inch circulars, and these are metal needles, which I believe are Knitter's Pride. Oh, interesting how the brand isn't on them. So that's good. So I'm kind of hoping to get this sweater done for fall and also get the socks done. Oops. And then in terms of what I'm planning to knit with this yarn that I bought, so as I mentioned, I went around. So the first stop I made was in Truckee, and there's a store there called Truckee Atelier, and that is a gorgeous yarn shop. I loved the town of Truckee. It had so many great little shops and restaurants, and while there I was very lucky because my friend Sid was with me, and so she helped me pick color, which is something that I struggle with. So I walked in, and they had this wall of super bulky, hand-dyed merino wool. Let me pull one out. From Dream in Color. And this one is called Savvy, but all of them, there actually was this bright orange that caught my eye. So this is the Fable Colorway, which is 529. And as soon as I saw this yarn, I knew I had to knit the Flower Power Cardi by Laurel Gerbitz. This has been on my list for a while, and if you don't know, that's so Knit Collage. I did their knit along last fall, and they come up with special patterns, and one of them was the Flower Power Cardi, but those patterns are exclusive to the knit along, and then after it's been in the knit along for a few years, then they'll release it just on their website. So the Flower Power Cardi has been released on their website, and I've always loved it, and so now I'm gonna get to do it. So I fell in love with this really just beautiful bulky yarn, and the nice thing is, since I did the knit along, I already have the needles, last year, I have the needles and the darning and this ginormous stitch markers, because as you can imagine, I'll be knitting this with a giant needle. So I got this color, and then my friend helped me pick out, so it has, the pattern has these two giant daisies on it, and so they have a center, and then they have a ring around it, then they have the petals, and then they have a outline petal color, and then there's the body of the sweater. So this is going to be my body of the sweater, which is, it's actually, this one's got more green in it than the other one. So it's mainly kind of cream with green, little speckles of green and yellow. So my friend helped me pick out this beautiful color. So this is also merino wool, super bulky. This is Malabrigo, and it is the Rasta, which is, 100% merino wool. And then we kind of just had fun going around the store trying to pick out the next color. So we ended up getting this, which is another one by Malabrigo. I don't know how to pronounce that. This, though, is a worsted, I believe. Oh, yeah, worsted DK. And it's 100% cotton. And I love the colors. And we actually ended up getting a mohair. So this would be the center of the flower, and this would be the petals. And then we got a mohair to make the center kind of fuzzy, which was an idea from the owner of the store. She was awesome. I really can't say enough good stuff about that store. Oh, here it is. So they had these mohair, so I got this to pair. And I ended up getting all of this shipped. They shipped it for me to Seattle. So it arrived with my friend, and it arrived, the packaging was so great that I kept some of it. So it has this beautiful like tissue on it, and then they also gave out these kind of beautiful cards. So they've opened another one in Reno. Truckee is very close to Reno. It's just northwest of South Lake Tahoe. And then there's the Sierra Nevada yarn crawl. And then I just liked this. It's be kind whenever possible. It's always possible. And that's by the Dalai Lama. And this is their business card. And it's called Bespoke, Atelier, Made and Maker. So the front half of the store is all handmade items. And then the second half they have yarn. And I think they have a little bit of embroidery as well. But that yarn store was awesome. There was so much I wanted to get in there. I also found a new brand. I think it's called Biches and Bûches. They had some beautiful, also very similar to this yarn. Oopsies. It was, I think, like a mohair silk yarn that really came in some beautiful colors. So I had to kind of stop myself from buying that. So it's the same idea where it's got that, it's thicker than a lace weight mohair yarn. So you can, rather than holding two yarns together, you can just hold the one. So I've definitely got my eye on that, but not for 2020 or 2023. So yeah, but then, so when I got back to Vancouver, my father-in-law just arrived and Goose is very excited. So when I finished my hike, I went back to Seattle to stay with my friend, and I saw all the beautiful yarn. But that's when I realized that I think my choice of doing a cotton worsted weight yarn with these bulky merino was a bit of a poor choice, just because the texture is different. This is single ply, this is multiply. The weight's different. I think it would just be too much of a nightmare. So I ended up going to the Cozy yarn shop in Seattle. That was so much fun. I also loved the yarn in there. They had a bunch of really rustic woolly wools, and they had those little tiny ones that you can do fair owl work with. So check them out if you're looking for some new yarns. So I ended up getting 2 more bulky yarns, and that's because I decided to, before I wasn't going to do the outline in the flower, but I decided to do the outline. So now I got this kind of ochre yellow, which I think goes really well with this, and this is going to be my outline. So what I'm going to outline the flower with, and this is going to be my new petal color. And I really just tried to find a petal color that was as similar to this as possible, and then I'm going to still do the mohair around it. So yeah, I'm super excited about this project. This is going to be the next sweater project that I cast on so that I can hopefully wear it in Vancouver. The thing about these bulky sweaters is it can't be raining, but it has to be cold enough to wear it. So I only have like maybe a few week window in Vancouver, and that window is probably going to start in early September. So my goal is to get through it. So while I was actually in the yarn shop in Seattle, I ended up picking up this yarn. And this, I'll just put these guys back. So this yarn shop is in Ballard, which is a very cute area of Seattle. And this is the Fiber Co. So I've done a couple projects with the Fiber Co. Acadia yarn, I believe, and I loved it. So this is Suro, and it is a blend of Surrey alpaca, organic cotton, and merino wool. So it's 40% cotton, 40% alpaca, 20% wool. And I just thought it was such a pretty kind of halo, and I liked how the center was like white. And I ended up buying the Petite knit Cumulus blouse pattern when she did that fundraiser for the Ukrainian Red Cross, and I've been looking for yarn to knit that with, so I ended up thinking that this would be the perfect yarn for it. So I tried to estimate. The pattern calls for, here, I got it in my little sheet here. I'm doing another yarn substitution, so the pattern actually calls for 2 strands of lace weight yarn, which was 25 grams for 210 meters. So whenever I'm trying to substitute, I think of just kind of, if I were to hold those together, what would it be? So they're 25 grams for 210 meters. So if I held them together, the yardage isn't going to change, but the weight will. So now I have 25 plus 25, which is 50. So I have 50 grams for 210 meters. And these were, let's see here. This is, oh wow, is that exactly? So this is 50 grams for 225 meters. Sorry, the pattern is 210 meters for 50 grams, and this is 225. So it's a teeny bit thinner. Well, actually, I don't know if it's thinner, because as yarns, they can be the same weight per like inch or whatever, but the thickness of the wool can vary, just depend on how it was spun. So it's approximately right, so I think I should approximately have the right gauge. I will definitely be doing a gauge swatch. It was interesting though, because I was like, oh, since I only ended up actually buying 2 originally, because I thought that would be enough yarn for the sweater, and I just got confused. I was like, oh, well, if I'm doubling the thickness in one skein, I can like half the length that I need. For some reason, that was my thought in my brain, but when I got home, I was like, this really just doesn't seem like enough yarn for a sweater. So I ended up having to run back and double this. So I picked up, oh, it's too far in there. I picked up 2 more skeins of this. And one of the reasons why I like substituting rather than holding 2 yarns together, holding 1, is it's a lot more cost effective. So one of these skeins is almost the same price as 1 skein of lace weight yarn. So it's almost like half the price of the sweater, which is nice. And yeah, so this is another one that's on the list. So as you can see, I also, this one I'm going to do a little bit later, because I really would like to do like the Flower Power Cardi, and then I still have the Guthrie sweater by Caitlin Hunter. And for that, I bought the yarn when I was in Austin, Texas, and it's the Spin Cycle and La Bien-Aimée. And I'm slightly worried because the La Bien-Aimée color is called Winterfell, which I think is like a Game of Thrones reference. And I don't have quite enough yarn, I think. I'm going to end up sizing up that sweater. So if I need to buy an extra skein, I need to figure that out ASAP so that I can buy my extra skein of both the Spin Cycle and the Winterfell. So that I might end up, might be like a break in the rule for not buying any new yarn. So yeah, that's all the yarn that I bought. The other thing that I'm kind of excited about that's been all over Instagram is the, well, at least all over my Instagram, is the assigned pooling yarn that Barker Wool and Madeline Tosh have done a collaboration. And assigned pooling is where you dye, I think it's around like 30% of the skein all in one color. That's a very contrast color to all the other sections of skein. And then as you're knitting, let's say like a shawl, you'll do a special stitch pattern for that contrast color. it kind of creates, so you'll have these texture just in the contrast color, which just creates these beautiful beautiful shawls. So I fell in love. I've been kind of following her. So they're releasing, I think it's 1 or 2 new colors every month, just for the next 3 months. So right now I believe they have 2 colors released. I think it might be 2 per month then. So they have 2 right now for August, and they have 2 in September, 2 in October, and then 2 in November. That's gorgeous. As I mentioned, though I'm cutting myself off, so I won't be trying that out for a while. And the other thing that's coming up is there's the Stephen West mystery knit along for his shawls, and I would really love to participate. So on September 1st, they're releasing the kits that he's created at his store, and then on September 3rd, you can sign up for the knit along. I think I'm gonna see what the requirement is, and then I'm gonna look through my stash to see if I have enough yarn to do it. Ooh, that was a big bird. That's another thing that I'm excited about. And also in September, there is Knit City is coming back to Vancouver. I went last year with some friends, and I'm going to go this year with the same friends. And so I'm so excited to walk around and check out the vendors and see all the local yarn too. So those are the 3 things that I'm kind of excited about for fall. And the last thing, was there one last thing? I think that actually might be it. Let me check out my little piece of paper. Very old school. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to mention, oopsies. The last thing I wanted to mention is I created that YouTube video of me planning my projects for 2020. I actually filmed it on January 1st, and it took me 8 months to get it out there. But I'm planning on now hopefully releasing videos every week, as one of my goals is to try to get to 1,000 subscribers. As when you hit 1,000, you get, well, you need 1,000 and you need 4,000 watch hours, but it's the first step to getting monetized by YouTube. So when you see those ads, I actually get a portion of them. So that's my kind of exciting thing, is really hoping to get some videos out. So yeah, feel free to check that one out if you haven't already, and let me know if you like it or not. Hope you are enjoying the little bit of August that's left before September. I always find, I don't know why, I mean, I guess it's because I'm back in school, but in September, that's almost to me like when I start to kind of really think about what I want to get done in the year. And I've started a journal where I write down a page is like for the month, and then I write down all the little goals that I want to get done. So September, we're just out of town. We've got so many events happening in September. But in October, I've already dedicated it to house cleaning month. And I'm excited to go through our spice drawer and the bathroom and my closet. So anyways, a bit about me. See you next time.